Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Inclusion Works Lunch and Learn, Inclusion at Work, a conversation with employers. Before we get started, here are a few reminders about the webinar. Please make sure that you are using a computer or smartphone connected to the internet, and the audio function is on and the volume is turned up. Please be sure your microphone is muted for the duration of the call unless you are speaking or asking questions. To ask questions, use the Q&A feature located on your control panel, and we will answer as many questions as time allows toward the end of the presentation. American Sign Language interpreters and closed captioning options are available for today's event. The American Sign Language interpreters for today are Danette Steelman-Bridges and Susan King Lanier. For closed captioning options, select the closed caption feature located on your control panel. To adjust the video layout and screen view, select the View feature located in the top right-hand corner of your screen and choose the view that works best for you. If you are using a mobile device, the location of the Zoom controls may vary, with the Q&A feature located on the top of the screen instead of the bottom. Today's agenda topics include introductions and a panel discussion. There will also be time for questions after the presentation. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Claire Colligan, IDD Employment Lead for the IDD, TBI, and Olmstead section of the Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services.
Thanks, Dina. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see so many people coming. This is a really special Lunch and Learn today. We're going to be talking with people who hire and employ people with disabilities. So I'm going to turn it right over to Brianne Tomaszewski, who is the Principal Investigator for Work Together NC, and she will be leading the discussion. Welcome, Brianne.
Thank you so much. So I'm thrilled to be here today, and we have two employers who are with us. I'm going to stop sharing so we can really be able to see each other, as I am going to be asking the employers to come on camera if they're able and to introduce themselves. I'm so thrilled that they were willing to be a part of the panel today, and then I'll ask them a series of questions. So Erin, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for allowing me being here today. My name is Erin Elks. I'm part of the YMCA of Greater Charlotte. I am the Director of Talent Acquisition. So I help recruit for part-time, seasonal, and full-time positions here at the YMCA across our 17 locations.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for being here. And Jesse?
Hi, yes, thank you so much for the opportunity as well. My name is Jessie French. I'm the Director of Marketing and Catering for ClearPath Hospitality, and I oversee the hiring at Town Hall Grill in Chapel Hill. So I'm really excited for this opportunity.
Wonderful. And we're so thrilled to have you both here. So I'm going to dive right into our questions. So my first question is, what is the best thing about employing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities? Have there been any benefits that were unexpected?
I could take that first if that's okay. So at the YMCA, it's definitely been beneficial, including some partnerships, but hiring someone who identifies with IDD is rewarding because it part of our mission is we are for all. And so no matter their background, and hiring someone who identifies with IDD has brought a really great skill set to not only just represent some of the members in the community, but also they're loyal, they're dedicated, they show up for work on time. And it has also created some partnerships with us to where here in Charlotte, there is a Cakeable. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Cakeable, but they hire interns who identify with IDD, and they have a cafe and baristas. And once they do finish their internship program, they actually kind of identify the people who graduate as qualified candidates for the YMCA, to where we've had hired a few of their interns at our one Morrison location. But we also have space that we had lost during COVID, where it was like a smoothie bar and things in one of our facilities, to where we're in the works of trying to have them open up a cakeable cafe within the YMCA. So it's just been really beneficial.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin and Jesse.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, with being in the restaurant industry and seeing so many different people come in, I think one of the best things about employing people with IDD is just kind of showing, like, giving them the opportunity to like have fun when they're at work and not necessarily have that stress of, oh, am I gonna get this done? Am I gonna get this done? But having an environment where they can come in, they can interact with so many different people. Being here in Chapel Hill, we're less than 5 minutes away from UNC Chapel Hill, so we'll have the basketball coaches come in all the time. And it's just really awesome. Our staff love them because they come in and they always have a smile on their face. And when it's a really stressful day, it's just a breath of fresh air. It's really awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing. So my next question is, what kind of support or flexibilities do you offer for your employees with intellectual or developmental disabilities?
I think just through partnerships and then working with our HR department, if there's some accommodations that are needed, and kind of seeing what they are needing to perform their job well. Another thing that we have done is the IDD inclusive training, and kind of made that a requirement in our learning management system. So not only hiring managers, but anyone and any employee can kind of view this training and take it to kind of help um, to have a better understanding or education on what maybe someone could need in an accommodation or support to help them do their job, to the best of their ability to be successful in the role.
Awesome. And I appreciate the shout out to the inclusive employer training that is offered by Work Together NC. I will share a slide that shows what that looks like a little bit later, but I'll let Jesse go ahead and answer the question as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that we do here, especially at Town Hall Grill, is just understanding what they need. For example, we have one server assistant who the server assistant role is kind of like a step above a busser. They're helping with running food, interacting with guests, and we have a young man here who has issues with carrying things because of his hands. He has shakes. So instead of just using a normal tray, we were able to get him one with handles. So then that way he's still able to come in, do the job. And he was really excited about it because coming into work is his favorite thing because he gets to talk to people. So that's just one of the few things. And then of course, like adjusting the scheduling if they need to take breaks, or if it's a really busy shift and it seems like there's certain factors that are becoming overwhelming. We find different areas that we can put them in so they can still succeed just a little differently that day.
Thank you. Those are great examples. And you kind of alluded to some of the schedule flexibilities. So my next question, Jesse, maybe starting with you, what kind of hours do your employees with IDD work?
Yeah, so here we're open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So typically we do about a 4-hour shift. With some of our staff members, we do a shorter shift just because sometimes they can't be on their feet for that long, or if they are having troubles being on their feet for that long, we make sure that we have tasks that we can put into their daily routine that they are sitting down for. So then that way they're still able to hit the hours that they need in order to like pay their bills and everything. So just making sure that we're flexible, and with being a restaurant, it's easy to kind of find different tasks. So just definitely being flexible.
Awesome. Thank you. And Erin?
Yeah, I would say with the YMCA, we're open, 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. So there's the hours and things that they typically would work is a 4-hour shift as well. And depending on the position that they're in, could be working with membership, it could be working on a fitness floor. So again, just whatever needs they may need to kind of like if they can't be on their feet for the full time, what are some other tasks that they can do to kind of help with that as well. So we're very flexible with the scheduling that they need. But they would anytime during those hours, whatever it can be, something they can do at home, like where like if they need to be home at a certain time or if they have a caregiver, whatever the case may be, or need a job coach, we're flexible with all of that as well. So with their hours.
Awesome. That's great. And actually leads to my next question of, do you allow job support? And then, in addition, have you modified the interviewing or screening process? And if so, how?
Um, I have help with our HR business partners for a lot of our part-time positions because we do hire so much across the association. I do know that a job coach had came to the Morrison location to do the interview. It was more like a panel interview with the candidate and then the job coach. And then I don't handle that piece in HR. So whatever the accommodations may be where they need the job coach, we could modify that. It's just kind of assessing the needs that they need for that as well. And then to modify the interview too, yes, we've done that. And I had to have a big shout out on the IDD inclusive training because I took some tips from there. Because I feel like I'm more aware because sometimes people may not disclose anything, any type of disability or nervousness or, anxiousness. But some people can kind of like take that the wrong way. So now that I've had that training, I kind of look at it a different lens as well to where I'll give you a really good example. I'm in the middle of hiring a recruiter and of course you can't ask these questions, it's illegal, but I could tell that he might have had a very nervous talking with me and he had a stress ball while we're doing a Zoom one-on-one to where yesterday we had the in-person interviews and we have a panel interview that because I knew that last week, I brought a bunch of stress balls in for all the candidates in case they needed it and just said, hey, I know this can be a little nerve wracking with 6 people on a panel. Here's some stress balls if y'all need it. And he actually took it. And I felt like he felt more comfortable after that. So yes, we do modify the interviews if needed to kind of go back to that question.
That's a great example. Thank you so much. And Jesse?
Yeah, Erin, that's amazing. That just kind of made me feel really warm inside. So that's awesome. Yeah, a little bit about our interview. I think I really have to give credit to the culture that our owner has really like instilled, especially here at Town Hall Grill. Is he always says when you're hiring, you can teach anyone to be a server, but you want to bring in good quality people. So I think that's made the interview process really seamless. Just bringing in people, we definitely engage with the families as well, especially if they're high school age. We always make sure that after the initial interview, we bring the parents in, person who's coming in for the job support, just so that way everyone's on the same page. Restaurants can get a little crazy. We can't necessarily control the people coming in, but we want to make sure that us and our team members are making sure that they're coming into a job environment where they feel supported and they feel safe and they have fun. So I think that we
Thanks, Jesse. We lost your audio just slightly at the end, but I think it might just be related to the wind. So, but thank you. I think we got the gist of that. How are you incorporating universal design principles in your workplace?
I'll need to think about that. Jesse, if you want to go ahead.
It just got really windy, so I'm so sorry if the audio goes out again. I think it's just kind of just being open and honest throughout the whole process. I think that's just one thing that
Oh, we lost your audio.
I can maybe piggyback with what she was saying because I would agree. It's just thinking of the process and things. It is like having that open, honest communication with them and following through and looping in all parties that need to be looped in is trying to keep that as part of our, universal principles for that so that it is a great candidate experience for everyone.
And is there anything that you've done for an employee with IDD that has helped everyone in the workplace?
During like an interview process.
During anything. So an example might be like we made visual and my team, we made visual instructions for a task that was really difficult and frustrating for everybody. So the visual instructions helped everyone kind of get through the task, even if we had made it for someone specifically who benefits from visual supports. But that was really a good way to help everyone get through the task.
Yeah, I can't think of any right now just because we have our own parts, but I think like working in the centers, I'm sure there has been some examples like that. But then I also kind of think back of like I work closely with our training development team and some things that we've done with like our learning management system, like putting the IDD training in there as well, just for everyone, but also having different options or even different like languages to kind of help if needed, because our system before, like we all have to be certified in CPR and first aid, and so our biggest thing was like it wasn't in Spanish or it wasn't in another language, and so we heard that feedback and tried to do what we could to kind of make it easier for everyone within the organization.
Yeah, and Jesse, I don't know if you wanted to share anything else if the
Think I'm safe for the wind for the time being. Yeah, so one thing here, every employee through training, we have to take a written menu test. And so for some people that can be like really hard. So one thing that we've started to do is throughout training, typically we have one shift where we call it the expo window. So where the food comes out, we have one of the managers break down the food item by item. So sometimes we've actually adjusted that shift to spend an hour pictures on the website. So we'll actually, instead of being in the window, if it's easier, we'll sit down with a laptop and we'll break down the items on the menu online. So then that way we can show them that, hey, back to this if it works better instead of breaking down the menu in the window. So kind of just adjusting it so they have visuals, maybe not in person if that doesn't work for them, but being able to use the website as well.
Awesome. So yeah, so adjusting and providing more options so everyone has accessible ways that they can learn the tasks or participate in things like the first aid training. Those are really great examples. And you kind of have both talked about this at both of your workplaces, but how are you cultivating a culture of inclusion and belonging?
I love that question. So one, it's we're the YMCA and it's part of our mission statement, right? So we are for all. And so how we cultivate those relationships and making sure everyone feels welcome and belonging is just one, having those like-minded people as part of our organization and knowing that that's part of our culture. We also have trainings, especially through our YUSA, there's trainings with like diversity and cultural lenses and things like that. And we're open to other types of trainings to make sure that we're still having that culture of belonging and making everyone feel welcome. We also have ERG groups, some new ones through YUSA this past year. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, we have like a disability ERG group now. We also have Native American and Indigenous, women's leadership, LGBTQ, the Hispanic, African American Resource Network. So there's like 8 total, just to make sure that everyone feels welcome.
And does ERG, is that employee resource group or?
Yes, an employee resource group. Yeah, and
Perfect.
then we also have a diversity and inclusion coordinator, and also with our VP of Christian Mission, who oversees the diversity. So we're very intentional about making everyone feel welcome, and whether that's as a member or a participant or a volunteer or an employee.
Thank you. Jesse?
Yeah, kind of just touching on what Erin just talked about is just having that culture of being accepting of no matter who you are. I think that's one thing, and I give credit to David, our owner, again. It's just being able to come into work, no matter who you are, no matter what's going on outside, just coming in, having a great time, and also just having the culture of we bring people in because we can teach anyone to be a server, but just making sure we bring in good quality people who have, no matter who you are, we're going to have your back. And just being able to have an environment where it's okay to ask questions, just make sure it's respectful and that it has the goal of learning. So kind of just like touching on that and just making sure that we have a great staff. They are very inclusive and just being able to have a great time.
I love that. That's great. What advice would you give to yourself when you first started on the inclusive workplace journey? What barriers did you encounter initially that you were able to overcome?
What I would tell myself is that there's so much opportunity and so many resources and employers, organizations that could help provide. I mean, just being in it as a recruiter, I feel like sometimes that might be an untapped market. I mean, just like veterans can be an untapped market, and you know, everyone can provide great strengths and skill sets. And so going in, I would have been like, okay, I didn't realize there were these many resources or organizations that could help me with qualified staff to bring to the Y. Some barriers, I guess, I kind of had. It was more of the capacity because we just during COVID, we lost a teammate that was furloughed and then laid off. And so once things kind of opened back up again, I really did have the capacity to kind of see like those resources or things or build those partnerships during that time. But I would say towards like 2021 and beginning 2022, I was more intentional about rebuilding those, not just the partnerships we even had, whether it was a university or things like that, or looking at other options to kind of help with recruiting. And so to where I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I feel like I have great partnerships with some organizations and things and programs within the Charlotte market now. So that was a barrier in the beginning, but I feel like a lot of people may have had that type of barrier because of being short staffed or capacity, because it was just a trying time for everybody during the pandemic.
Absolutely. Yes. Definitely agree with you. And Jesse?
Yeah, kind of just echoing how much opportunity and like willingness to help there is out there. I think when we first kind of started, I was a little, I guess the right word to say would be nervous. In the sense of I didn't want to fail the family. I didn't want to fail the company on bringing someone in. But it's opened my eyes to seeing how supportive and the perfect words inclusive for this. I think the barrier starting out would be having the fear of kind of making a mistake of like saying the wrong thing or something like that. But just having the resources now of education and just being able to learn more every single day, and the sky's the limit. So I think that's one thing of seeing how awesome this community is one thing that has really opened my eyes throughout this entire process.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And so, how do you indicate that a certain position or just your workplace in general is disability inclusive?
Um, I guess we there are certain positions where we need to make sure we have like inclusive language for the requirements for the role and essential functions. And then one thing that I feel is great that I have with Amanda at Cakeable is she'll ask me to send a job description. She may have a candidate who has IDD, but wants to know with those job functions, is it something that they can do, or if there's something that they need accommodations or whatnot. So I feel like having already the inclusive language on there and just knowing either the candidate or someone who works with them know if they are able to do the job, or if they're not, what are some reasonable accommodations. I hope that helps answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse?
Yeah, kind of going off of that, just understanding the individual candidate themselves and seeing if, they'd be better as a host, would they be better as a server assistant, or would they be ready for the full-on task of being a server. So I think just going by case and just understanding who the person is the best way that we go about it.
That's perfect. So that really alludes to my next question, which asks a little bit more about the tasks. So how do you assess what kinds of tasks will be a good fit for your employees? And feel free to offer examples of types of tasks that your employees perform or kind of customized roles.
Yeah, I think it helps with having, again, that relationship with Cakeable, where they've read the job description to kind of see what they are able to do. A lot of the positions that I feel that when I'm speaking with Amanda, that would be transferable would be like our fitness floor. So kind of walking around and speaking with members, wiping down equipment, folding towels, even some childcare. We have like our drop-in childcare. Y Kids is what we call it. And then, of course, the customer service roles too, where we've had some of those positions there. Yeah, I think that just having, sorry, I feel like knowing what, having some of those roles and being able to adjust if needed or, works best for them. So, I don't know if Jesse has anything to add to that for her.
Yeah, I think kind of just going back to who the person is. So if we like, for example, we have this amazing busser named Connor. So he's awesome. He loves to talk. He loves to go around. He'll walk into the restaurant, and I kid you not, every single person will start smiling. Like that's just how infectious of a person and amazing person he is. I could go on forever, but I'll get to the question. I think it's just understanding who they are and like what they can do. We have daily checklists for each of our employees. So then that way, if there's something that we know that wouldn't necessarily fit the right way into an individual checklist, we know it would fit better for another staff members. So just making sure to adjust, try new things. And if that new thing doesn't necessarily work very well, adjust and see where else we can fit it for the next shift.
Awesome. I love the daily checklists for everyone. How do you approach performance reviews? And on the other hand, how do you just solicit feedback from your employees with IDD about their support needs and overall experience?
I think that's harder for me to answer because we have our HR business partners that help with the performance reviews. I know they've kind of shifted away from having like a mid-year where it's written and then a year, full year, year-end evaluation, but where it's going to be more conversational, and a lot of the hiring managers and things will do one-on-ones. But that, I'm not in those centers to kind of help with the performance, so I can't really feel like I can answer that accurately.
No problem. Thanks for sharing about the process. As it looks like it might be windy for Jesse. Okay, well, I'll ask the next question and then you can come back to that when the wind dies down. So my last question is, in what ways does being an inclusive employer impact team morale? What impact have you seen on other employees and the community at large?
Great question. I feel that it's just the culture of the Y in general is great because we are inclusive. And so I feel like when I see some of our employees who identify with IDD, they just, they love them. I know there's a one center where we have someone who he works multiple jobs within the Y. He's Y Kids, he's after school, he's membership, he's fitness, he has all these roles. And I can just honestly say, because he's so outgoing and loves to talk to people, and just like he's probably your Connor, Jesse. Everyone speaks so highly of him, and you could be having the best, like the worst day, and he comes in and just turns it around and make it your best day ever. And I see that when I go to visit that center, that everyone is like that with him. So it's great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm safe from the wind for now. But kind of going back to the previous question, I think one thing, it's very casual here at the restaurant. So anything that we see that, could the staff member could work on, we kind of just have a very casual conversation with them. And if it's anything that's, a little more serious or anything, we just make sure that it's nothing, the environment isn't anything that could stress them out. Starting the conversation very normal, like how do you feel the shift went, kind of slowly building up to the area that we want to touch on. So that's just kind of how we do the performance reviews. And then in the ways that being an inclusive employer has impacted our team morale, just kind of going back to speaking about Connor, he's amazing. We also have a young man named Matthew. I just want to give this story. He took the menu test. It took him a little longer than normal, but the day that he came in and he passed the menu test, it was like Town Hall Grill had just won the world championship. The entire staff just erupted. Everyone was giving high fives, and just showing them that like we have their back. We're gonna celebrate every single thing. So it's just, and then also another thing is every year for the holidays, we close the Town Hall Grill restaurant down for an evening, and we do a holiday dinner for families who have any the IDD, whether it's a parent, a child. We have them come in for a quiet restaurant, nice dinner free of charge. And it's just been so awesome to see those families come back, not only just to the holiday dinner, but just knowing that they can come in to Town Hall Grill or any of our locations and know that they'll be in an environment where no one's gonna look at them because they're having, or like maybe it's a bad day for the kid or the parent. Just being able to come in, have a great dinner, or a great lunch, and just being in a good environment. I think that's just what's really been the best part about this, is just the whole community that we've been able to be introduced to.
Thank you both so much for those wonderful stories. That was great. Is there anything else you want to share with us about being an inclusive employer?
I have one thing that just popped in my mind, and it really makes you think too. I went to a Bound Health seminar in the fall and heard some testimonials from, employees that who identify with IDD with different um, other organizations. And this one guy was so excited, and someone said, well, what did you do after you got your first paycheck? Because he was so excited someone gave him the opportunity. And I get like goosebumps thinking of this because it was so just heartwarming. But he's like, I took my family out for dinner. And it was like, that was like the biggest thing for him. And it was so great. Like, just like I'm getting tears in my eyes thinking about it, because you could just see the excitement and the joy that he got with getting that chance, getting his first paycheck. But the biggest thing that was important to him was being able to pay, dinner and take his parents out. So I just want to share that because I thought that was kind of sweet to see, like, you could change someone's life by giving them a shot.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Amazing. Any final thoughts from you, Jesse?
Yeah, I think just kind of going on what Erin said is, I think sometimes we think of it as just a job, but it's so much more than that. When you come in and they get to come in and they have a shift where, maybe they didn't get to talk to anyone before they came in, and maybe this is their opportunity to, for example, Connor, he loves playing the electric guitar. And so I'll never forget the first shift. He was talking to a table. That table just happened to be a musician. And so they sat and they talked about the electric guitar for so long. And it was honestly just everyone was just standing there smiling. There was probably a billion other things we could have been doing at the time. But it's just being able to appreciate that moment. And just giving them the chance of coming out, having a job, and like Erin said, being able to have those moments to pay for stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Before we go into questions, I just wanted to share a couple of pieces of information. So I'll just share my slides and then we'll go into questions just to share a couple highlights from what they were referring to with the Inclusive Employment Alliance. How we got connected with these wonderful employers is through Work Together's NC IDD Inclusive Employer Alliance, which is really a network of North Carolina-based employers really transforming their workplace to embrace some of the inclusive practices we heard about so wonderfully today, and walking the talk when it comes to employing individuals in competitive integrated employment and receiving recognition for efforts if desired. There's a window sticker for a storefront, a social media shout out, and then also being listed on our website. And so you can see the full list on our website, but we have several, in addition to the ones that we're talking with us today, we have several other inclusive employers who have gone through our training. And speaking of, you can take our training. I know the link has been shared in the chat, but you can learn how to, this is what we share with employers to help learn how to support people with IDD in the workplace, is this self-paced training. It's available for free and available for any employer to take. And the modules go through really that education and awareness of what it means to be or have an intellectual and developmental disability and what that looks like in the workplace, some kind of misconceptions and mindset shifts we heard Erin allude to earlier, some universal design aspects that can help everyone in the workplace, tools, and then allyship, and then success stories, community resources, and next steps. And so linking employers directly to service providers to help identify what types of candidates might be a great fit. So similar to like the relationship with Capable that Erin was talking about, being connected to other service providers like EIPD and other members who provide employment services. And so now I will open it up to Claire to look at the question and answer.
I think that it was so awesome that people have just been listening and we don't have any questions yet. But I would encourage people, if you want to raise your hand and we'll take you off mute and we will let you ask your questions that way if you choose to, or put them in the Q&A box also. I want to say I enjoyed this so much. It's just always so great to hear, especially for me, the dignity that is involved with work, and to hear how accommodations can be made. So I see Cheryl has raised her hand, and Cheryl, if you can come off mute, why don't you do that and ask your question? And I apologize, I know your name is Cheryl.
Oh, thank you so much. Sherelle Gales from Abound Health. I just have a comment. I was so grateful to be able to join you all today, but just want to highlight in regards to our Empower to Work Base Camp. Erin Elks has been doing such a great job with joining our bi-monthly job club and sharing resources in regards of inclusive hiring. And I just want to say thank you again for that reflection in regards to our supportive employment symposiums and just trying to make sure self-advocates' voice are heard across the footprint. This has been so helpful today, and I really appreciated being able to join the session. Thanks for letting me make a comment, Claire.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl. I do work closely with her, and that was actually the webinar or the seminar I went to was she hosted. So thank you.
Awesome. We did ask people to provide the link that has a list of participating employers. And I see that Joshua has his hand raised. And Joshua, come on off mute and tell us what's happening.
I'm actually seeking employment right now. How do you land a job as a person with autism and OCD? And how do you get access to the services that we talked about? Did you hear me?
Yeah, we heard you. Does anybody want to take that one?
I think it depends on what your interests are and what your skills are, and then thinking about connecting you with someone like EIPD or Employment and Independence for people with disabilities to help you with that kind of job exploration and interview process.
Can you repeat that answer again?
Sure. So I think if you would like to get connected with
If you don't mind.
if you'd like to get connected with EIPD or Employment and Independence for people with disabilities,
We'll put a link to that in the chat as well, to EIPD. I'll put that in for us.
yeah, and we can link our services page on Work Together NC too, can help you find your local office in your area that you live in North Carolina.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Looks like we have a comment in or a question in the Q&A about the link to
Yes, so I
the
think
participating employers. So we'll drop that link in the chat as well. And then looks like
I have
Claire,
one more
another one came
question
in.
coming up. Yeah, we have another question from Nancy. As an employer, how would you handle a situation where you might provide feedback to an employee for an area of improvement and they respond by saying their disability makes it difficult to meet this expectation? I'm the parent of an adult with autism who has gotten feedback that he needs to be friendlier with customers and make small talk. He doesn't understand how to make small talk. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Great question.
Aaron or Jesse, would you like to take the first response at this question?
Pardon the wind. It's not too bad. I think it's just kind of going for that question, just finding the small victories for that. I don't think it's gonna be like personally, I don't think it's something that it's gonna happen overnight, but finding something that maybe when the next shift, it's asking how their day is, and then that's the victory for that day. And then the next day of finding, finding a
Oh, we lost you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, just finding those little victories, and kind of having a plan throughout the entire time and understanding that it might not happen in one day, it might not happen in a week, but just being able to understand the end goal and find those little checkpoints throughout the way. I hope that helps.
Excellent.
I was just add to some things that could be helpful are like a visual support as a reminder of that question, like how was your day, to ask that question and making that part of the routine if that's something that is an absolute requirement of the job, and also thinking about what the job is and what needs to be said, and having some kind of guides and visual supports to help him if it's not all of us have natural ability to kind of make that small talk. So having that written down of what the rules are and what kinds of things you're supposed to say in your interactions with customers. So that can be a helpful way to help him remember what the expectations are.
Okay, anyone else have something to share or a question to ask? Okay, we can all be reached. Brianne, myself, and other members of our team can be reached. Here are some QR codes for the monthly lunch and learns, the website, and our mailing list. And Dina has put those links in the chat. And at this time, if there are no further questions, I'm going to turn it back to Dina to wrap us up. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Claire. The recording and presentation slides for today's event will be posted on the Inclusion Works website. The link is included in the chat. There will be a brief survey following today's webinar, and we'd appreciate your time completing it. The next Lunch and Learn will be on Wednesday, August 20th at noon, and we hope you will join us then. This concludes our webinar for today. Thank you for attending.